Hello, beautiful yoga tribe. It's Anna from Twisted Tribe Yoga. This is Sam. He'll be joining us today. Welcome to day 16 of our self-love challenge and our chat for today. Today we're talking about what are you afraid to ask for? What do you need to speak up for? And do you need to start speaking up more for yourself and why? So take out the notebook that we have and write those questions down. What are you afraid to ask for? What do you need to speak up for? And do you need to start speaking up for yourself more often? So coulda, woulda, shoulda. Do you find yourself there often? I could have said that. I should have said that. We avoid speaking up for ourselves because of our old friend, fear. Yep, fear of what will happen, fear of not being able to handle the consequences. And the only way to move beyond that is to do what we fear. Do what we're afraid of, because it allows us to discover that we can handle the consequences and that our relationships with ourselves and others actually benefit from speaking our truth. But that's only assuming that we've communicated it in a straightforward, non-abusive, and respectful way, of course. The reasons why we experience this fear and allow others to step on our dignity and treat us with a lack of respect or kindness, those reasons are as complex as human nature itself, but at the core, when we're afraid to speak up, it's because we don't want to be humiliated. We don't want to be ostracized. We don't want to deal with any ugly fallout, like maybe losing a job. We don't want to make a scene or end up feeling worse about ourselves that we already do. We don't want to face rejection, and we don't want to face that we may have to give up some things like security, status, or the comfort of the familiar. So we think it's easier and more beneficial to stay quiet and maintain the peace. But this is in fact the opposite, because we're doing it at the expense of our own peace. So not believing in our own innate worthiness can cause us to settle for far less than what we want, need, or deserve. It's really true. We teach other people how to treat us. We stay silent, and we tolerate being treated in ways that leave us hurt, frustrated, resentful, or undervalued. In the end, we're going to get what we tolerate. So the reality is, when we speak our truth, we find courage, we find possibilities, we find peace, we find confidence, we find self-confidence, we find respect and self-respect. So 5 reasons to speak up. I have a list. Silence, number 1, silence is deemed approval. Silence is as much an active form of communication as talking. In any situation, people are picking up on and they're aware of all your input and your lack of input. So withholding information makes you part of the problem. Number 2, the greater good should be the priority. Okay, sometimes we stay quiet because we don't want to offend, we don't want to criticize someone, but when things are headed down that slippery slope or a dangerous path in our relationships, it's just selfish to put your need to be comfortable above the situation, whatever it may be. So often by staying silent, the situation and the people that you wanted to help, you're actually harming it. So the worst case scenario that's going to happen is someone will disagree. But now the issue's at the forefront, and an active discussion and maybe some decisions can be made. Number 3, you demonstrate you are invested by speaking up. The reason you're in the conversation in the first place was because someone invited you into the dynamic. You're already there. Speaking up is an important form of honesty, and honesty builds trust when compounded with tact and empathy. So number 4, no one else may know. You can't assume the obvious is obvious. Your feelings, experience, knowledge, they all have value. No one else has your perspective. So this doesn't mean that everything in your brain is worth communicating, but you can bring value with some discretion and thought. And if you're waiting for people to read your mind, it could be a very long time. It might never happen. So when you speak up, you are actually choosing your path. You're choosing it. So number 5, you may not be alone in your thinking. By speaking your mind, you encourage others to voice their opinion. If everyone is silent and holds back, often, inevitably, that bus is going to silently head over the cliff. And that's what we don't want. That's what we don't want, the woulda, coulda, shoulda. So, I'm going to end this video here. And we're going to do part 2 in a second video because the memory on my phone is just unbelievable right now. It's not working out for me or you. But the second part is going to be, so how do you speak up? How do you stand up for yourself without harming yourself or your relationships? I have a list. Stay tuned for part 2.